for clicking on the video. My name's Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Atlanta. This is season 14, and I want to say episode 6. But I could be wrong, but you'll see the title card. So let's get into it. Before we get into the recap, if I find something spicy that I don't want to make a video by itself, we talk about it before we get into the review. And let's just say, things were heating up last night on Twitter and Miss Watch What Happens Live. And a lot of people had a lot of things to say. I will say, I think the ladies are tweeting a lot more. Like, maybe I'm just like thinking it's a lot more, but I feel like they weren't tweeting this much before, you know, the panoramic and even a little like in between like season 7 or 8. I feel like they weren't really tweeting this way, but they've been tweeting a lot. So Marlo with her messy self. So Candy had a whole bunch of tweets and Marlo had a whole bunch of tweets. There was only 3 tweets that stood out to me that I wanted to talk about. We got Candy's tweet where she says, if someone shows you who they are, believe them, because they talking about me more than they're talking about their own stories and business. Hashtag RHOA. Then Marlo had this one. She said, keep watching because the lady with the heavy tongue is keeping everybody's storyline juicy and paychecks are coming in. So Marlo saying like, sis, I'm keeping the storylines going, heavy tongue and all. So then this is the tweet that tickled the mess out of me. So Candy tweets this out. She says, someone is worried about my anatomy and my sexual history more than my gynecologist this season. Hashtag RHOA. Marlo co-tweets her and says, I feel you, sis. They've been doing it to me for 10 plus years. Let them hate. Hashtag RHOA. Marlo ain't ish. Marlo, because she knows what she do. I cackled when I saw this. So then what really got the people and the fans hyping in their, you know, in their chestesses was Marlo was on Watch What Happens Live, and a fan commented and called in and said, how do you feel about Kenya's whole thing? Like, I'm an icon, she's an ex-con. Well, Marlo didn't have not so nice things to say. She basically, well, I'll play the clip for y'all, and then y'all tell me what y'all think.
Shamika and Christine from Pennsylvania with a question for Marlo. Hi.
What is your response to Kenya saying to Michael Rappaport that she's an icon and you're an ex-con?
Darling, it's more like I'm an iconic icon, okay? Ex-icon. And Kenya is not an icon, darling, okay? Not at all. We know that she's not. I don't know what she's done at iconic.
Okay. Well, she won Miss...
Second.
Won Miss...
She was in first place, though.
Well, no, she won Miss...
She wasn't the first Miss Black USA.
Okay, but she did win it.
Yeah,
okay.
The second.
Okay.
No one remembers number 2.
Okay.
They only remember number 1.
So, what I will say is, we know Marlo can't read because she was stumbling over her words. She didn't even get the whole ex-con. She tried to say, I'm an iconic felon, but she couldn't get it. Marlo just is not, she not quick with it, like I told y'all in my last for the drama video. Well, a lot of people weren't happy with Marlo because a lot of people were like, why are you trying to diminish what Kenya did? Kenya won Miss America. Even though she was the second Black woman to win Miss America, she's dark skinned. So that means a lot in this world. As well as she placed 6th in Miss Universe, all while during the 90s being a dark-skinned woman. So a lot of people are like, girl, no ma'am, that wasn't a dig, nor was it a read, and you shading her, it didn't hit. Even the Asian guy, I wish I knew his name, he's an actor that's playing in that new movie on Hulu, I think called like Fire Island, where they go to Fire Island and it's like a coming of age / like love story. Well, can it be coming of, because I think all them people like in their 30s and 40s. Either way, it's coming of something. But he is super cute to me. He is so cute. He was even looking at her like, And then even Andy was like, sis. And y'all know Andy don't be seeing it for Kenya. I was just like, Marlo, that wasn't good. We know Marlo can't read, but let's get into the review. So opens up, and you know we get that B-roll of everyone at home and doing their thing. We see a cute scene of Ace at Candy's house trying to learn how to speak Chinese. He's adorable. He was learning how to say watermelon, And then it reminded me, honestly, it reminded me of the workbooks my mom had us doing. So I that's why I thought it was just cute. I know he'd be over it. But then we also saw Sanya and Deuce is being a terror and just doing too much. And then we see Kenya on the FaceTime with Marlo. So Marlo and Kenya are basically talking about Sheree, how they want to do something special for Sheree. Basically, kind of like a party in the sense of, girl, let's get over him. Let's move on. Let's do better because we don't need no felon penis. Pretty much. So we see Sheree at home. She's folding clothes. She's in her pajamas. And we find out she ain't really left the house after what happened with Tyrone in Philly. And her daughter, one of her daughters, I think daughters comes in, her name is Tiara, was kind of like, how are you doing? Like, what's good? And she was just like, I ain't really left the house. And Tiara's like, why not? And she just kind of like, I'm trying to process what happened. And she was like, Sheree's like, she don't know if she ready to let Tyrone go. And her daughter was like, why? And I'm with the daughter, but I also understand where Sheree's coming from, where it's like, she feels like she's put so much time and so much effort into this relationship that she's not ready for it to like be over. I think oftentimes we always start relationships, whether it be like business, friendships, or even like romantic relationships, hoping that the end goal will be like something in our favor for both parties. And I think Sheree's whole thing is like, she really thought Tyrone was her person. Like, she really felt like Tyrone was her person, and unfortunately he played her. So now she's sitting here trying to like figure out how to go to the next step. We find out that like he called the day after that, talking about what you doing, like everything's all cool. And I'm kind of like, so Sheree, that means he's done this before, or he's done something similar to this, and he's been able to get back in your good graces. I think the only reason why it hurts worse now is because it was filmed and now it's like for public consumption. Whereas we don't really have an understanding of like Tyrone and Sheree's relationship like that, because we haven't seen it from the beginning. We haven't really seen him mess up too much, basically. So that was her whole thing. Like, she just feels like she's processing and she really doesn't know what to do, but she's not really at this point ready to give it up. So then we see a scene with Drew and Kenya. And honestly, I just don't see it for Drew. And I'm kind of surprised that Kenya hasn't seen through Drew the way she saw through her in the beginning last season. But I think the thing is, Kenya is sympathizing with Drew because Kenya feels like Drew is in the same relationship or the same situation she was in with Mark as Drew is with Ralph. But I don't think Kenya understands that Drew is playing from a script, because for Drew to get on Watch What Happens Live and shade Kenya in a roundabout way by being like, my husband stayed and hers left, and for Andy to be like, girl, she left him. It seems like Drew was kind of like, Kenya was putting too much of her emotions into our situation, but I do appreciate her. But what she had with Mark, that's not what's going on over here. And I'm kind of confused and, like I said, kind of surprised that Kenya doesn't see that, because normally she's good at seeing through people. But Drew and her sit down at the Korean barbecue. I need to go to Korean barbecue. I haven't been to Korean barbecue in a hot minute. It's always a good time. But Drew sitting down at Korean barbecue. She basically thanks Kenya for standing up for her and talks about how she's like trying to move forward with Ralph and holding him more accountable. And Kenya feels like her and Drew are in relationships where they lost their voice. And I'm kind of like, I can see that with Kenya. I don't know so much with Ralph. It just seems like I say, their relationship doesn't seem all the way that bad. It seems like they're putting more gas on the fire just to like play it up for us. But they're bonding over this. We find out that Brooklyn actually stayed with her dad in New York for the first time, did a sleepover. Kenya was a little uncomfortable, but in all honesty, she got two parents. If I was Kenya, I would be working harder for well, I'm not say working harder, but I'd be pushing more for her to be with with Mark, while Kenya can have time to herself. Because running yourself ragged trying to hold Captain single mom doesn't do you favors, and it doesn't do your daughter any favors. It just leaves you drained and more resentful of Mark not putting in, when you could ask more of him and he could do way more, because at the end of the day, that's his child. We then talk about, they didn't get on the topic of Sanya, and Drew feeling like Sanya blindsided her, which she did, and her feeling like Sanya is fake and only like wants to be friends with people that she can get things out of. But the truth of the matter is, Sanya is doing what Drew did last season by picking a beef with Drew. Drew did the same thing with Kenya when she was trying to be up Portia's ass all last season. And now Drew just doesn't like it because it got flipped on her. Because Drew completely did what Sanya did with Kenya. Drew made a situation with Kenya when there wasn't one, and Sanya is low-key making a situation with Drew when there's not one. The truth of the matter is, Sanya thinks Drew is lame, and she peeped it, and the way she's going about it is not the best way because it's making her look fake. But the thing is, Drew is lame, and Sanya sees that Drew is lame and doesn't want to be associated with her. But the way in which she's going about it makes her look fake, because it's like, Drew hasn't done anything to you for you to be acting this way towards her. We find out that Sanya has this new business. Well, not really new business. It seems like the business has been going on for like a couple of years, called Mommy Nation, where it is a blog, like a community for Black moms, and they have like merch and seminars and things of that nature to build a community for Black moms. Sanya invited Sonya didn't invite Marlo or Sheree, but she invited Drew, Candy, and Kenya, but then she disinvited Drew. She sent her a text basically saying like, good morning. I was saying yesterday that I think it's best you skip the shoot because I don't want it to end up being all about our conversation in New York. I would prefer us to follow up on our conversation when it doesn't involve work. So like Drew got an invite, but then she got disinvited. So then we move over to and then Kenya keeps bringing up how Candy didn't tell her that they could invite people, but then when they do the flashback, she totally said you could bring a date. And Kenya says she might bring a date. So I don't know what Kenya talking about. So then we get to the whole Mommy Nation thing. Like I said, it's basically a blog post to like help women, especially Black women who are moms. I think they've had it for the business has been going on for like 3 years. So pretty much since Sanya has had Deuce, because she had been struggling with Deuce and needing help from other women, or finding other women that she could relate to with her struggling with her son. We find out that Sanya basically bamboozled and tried to goop the children by having Candy and Kenya show up without telling them that she wanted them to be in their shoot. And basically what Candy's and Kenya was like, girl, we normally don't do photo shoots without a check involved. And I'm not mad at them. Like, you being sneaky. Let's just call a spade a spade. You were hoping that they would be a part of the shoot because they're moms, and you should have asked them, but you basically got them to do this photo shoot for free, when if you had called them or contacted them like the correct way, you would be paying a fee. But honestly, the pictures came out great. The women look good. All of the other women that were there look great. They find out that Sonya tells them that she disinvited Drew. Kenya tried to like play it up like, oh, I wish Drew could have been here. And Sonya was just like, I didn't think this was the time or the place because this is my business. I'm going to have this dinner later on this week where we can all cook Jamaican food, and I'm going to invite her then, and then we can have a conversation privately while all of y'all are cooking. Then Kenya tells Sonya about how Drew said Sonya didn't have a brain of her own, and that pisses Sonya off when they had their little conversation. And then then Kenya also tells the group, like Sonya and Candy, about Sheree. Well, because I guess they didn't know that Sheree got left. And Candy was like, oh my goodness, that sucks. Like, she really got left. Like, and then they were like, oh, it's time to end that relationship. Everyone was saying end the relationship because he played her to the left. And that's basically the end of their little situation. Okay, so the next scene we see is the get-together that Marlo and Kenya were supposed to be doing together to cheer Sheree up. They basically have a Fendi pop-up shop in Marlo's house, which I thought was really cool. They you can tell that they're starting to show more of the money again, like they used to do back in the day for Real Housewives of Atlanta, which I like, because the whole purpose of Real Housewives of Atlanta was to show wealthy black women. The whole premise of Real Housewives in general is to show wealthy women and housewives at that. And so I'm glad we're getting back to that. But they do the pop-up shop. I thought it was funny when Marlo said she had the Fendi president on like speed dial, and then they do like a back signal with her face. But Kenya calls. She sounds sick. She in full glam, laying in bed, and it seems like she might be sick. She contacted her doctor, and her doctor basically told her that she probably shouldn't go to the party and that she should get tested for, the Rona. Marlo don't believe it, because Marlo's like, girl, you sick in full glam, but okay, you just didn't want to come. So we find out that Kenya's going to send Drew over for all the stuff that they're supposed to be doing, because the party is supposed to be like all of the fattening foods, like like fried chicken, fried French fries, catfish, cupcakes, like all the things that like make you feel good that are not good for you. They wanted to have a party for it, and Kenya and Marlo were supposed to bake a cake together. So we then see this scene of Sanya and her mom going to the Caribbean grocery store to buy the ingredients for the Jamaican party that they're supposed to have. And Sanya tells her mom that Drew basically said that she didn't have a brain of her own, that basically she's just like, she being petty or like she trying to gain clout off of her. And Mama Sonya got pissed. Mama Sonya said, do she know who you are? Like, I can't do a Jamaican accent. I don't even know why I tried. Her mom basically was like, do she not know all the accolades and the accomplishments you have to think you don't have a brain of your own? Who is she? Because she don't want none. Don't start none, won't be none. So Mama Sonya over it. Mama Sonya is over it. And she was like, don't even invite her. Like, basically, like, if she come, don't let her get underneath your skin. But she don't need to come if she gonna bring that negativity. And Sonya basically like, Drew don't know who I am, but she gonna learn today, because she need to keep my name out her mouth, because she going around talking cash money ish about me. So it is Sheree's event, and Drew comes over. Her and Marlo bake the cake together. They get to talking, and Drew, in the conversation when Kenya calls Marlo to tell her that, like, she was sick and not coming, she talks about the whole Mommy Nation thing. And Marlo's like, so I didn't get an invite? Because now Marlo technically is a parent. She got 2 kids. And so Drew is talking to Marlo while they're baking the cake, and Drew basically says that, like, I was invited, but like she disinvited me because of that conversation we had. And then I thought it was comical when Drew was like, I don't do fake. Fake doesn't resonate with me. And I'm like, sis, you're fake. What are you talking about? So Marlo was like, I don't understand why we weren't invited. Like, me and Sheree weren't invited because it's confused. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, I'm a mom, Sheree's a mom. Why weren't we invited? And she was like, maybe it's because of followers. So they show the followers. Candy has 9.7 million followers. Kenya has 2.2 million followers. Marlo and Sheree have 1 million. Well, Marlo has 1.4 million followers. Sheree has 1 million followers. And then Drew has the lowest with 5,007K followers. So they both were like, mainly they feel like Sanya only invited them, like invited Kenya and Sheree, not Kenya and Sheree, Kenya and Candy, because of how many followers they do have. And I can get that. So then we find out that she sent a mass text to the ladies about doing the whole Jamaican party and having them cook. And Drew was basically like, I don't feel like going. Like, you disinvited me to Mommy Nation, and now you want me to come to your party, and we're not even cool like that. So she was like, I'm not gonna go. But Marlo was like, no, you should go, but be on your best behavior. You kill people with kindness. So Sheree was eating some chips at her house. Marlo calls her and said, go outside, girl, get ready. I'm about to take you out for the night. Just be spontaneous. So Sheree goes and gets dressed, and then she sits in this car. They put a blindfold on her, and she pops up at Marlo's house. What's crazy is, like, they do that whole stupid thing where they do the thing when they was in Africa, and I thought it was crazy that happened like 10 years ago. Like, they've known each other for that long. And Marlo's like, we've come a long way, a very long way. And Sheree ends up spending like $11,000 at the pop-up shop she ended up buying like sandals, like a couple of bags, a few tops, some heels, another bag. So, but I thought it was funny when Sheree was like, girl, you're not gonna buy me nothing? You're not gonna gift me nothing? And Marlo said, no, I set this up for you to go shopping, not for me to buy you anything. But they had this moment. Marlo, we know Marlo can't spell the best. So Marlo, on the cake that she baked with Drew, put I Heart Me, Queen, Joggers, Diva, but it looked like Driver to Sheree. But they had a very, like, I thought this moment was sweet. Marlo basically told Sheree, like, girl, you know, people were sending me screenshots of you, like pictures of you sitting at that table in Dirty Philly. I can't believe she called Philly dirty. Crying on the phone with Kenya. Like, you really, like, girl, like, why, like, Sheree, you're beautiful. Like, why would you ever, like, lower yourself to be with Tyrone? And then Sheree starts crying. Marlo hugs her. And I was like, that's what you're supposed to do. Like, I thought this was a sweet scene because this is what you're supposed to do for friends. Like, when you see them at a low point and you want them to, like, you know, put your, like, be a baddie. Like, you're a baddie. Like, why would you ever lower yourself to be with someone like Tyrone if he's gonna keep disrespecting you? So, like, they ate the food. Marlo tells Sheree, like, Kenya was supposed to come, but she was sick. But I don't know if she was sick because sis had on a full face of glam. And then, but Drew came by, and she was like, wow, like, Drew really came by. And Marlo was like, yeah, she helped me bake the cake. So they get their feet massaged. They have, like, a good time. So it's the night of the Jamaican party. Everybody shows up except for Drew. Like, everyone's wondering if Drew is coming. It was such a cute scene when Sonya's mom and Mama Joyce, like, met each other. It was just cute. It was just so cute. It was cute. Kenya comes. Like I said, everyone's there except for Drew. They're all, like, they're doing the plantains. I learned how to pick the right plantains, you know, this year. Because I was Kenya. I was picking the wrong ones. But I finally figured out how to pick the right ones. It was funny. Like, the weird thing is, like, everybody was online talking about how Marlo was slut-shaming Candy. But they always slut-shame Marlo. Like, they always bring up Marlo potentially being a lady of the night or being an escort, allegedly. They always talk about her sleeping with 60-year-old men, and that's what her box is good for. It's like, they all do it to each other. So if we're going to be mad when Marlo does it, I think we should be mad when everybody does it. But they asked about Drew, like, why Drew's not here. And because Sheree's like, who's missing? And they said Drew. And Sanya said, I invited her, but she disinvited herself. And she's like, I'm not chasing nobody. Like, I'm not chasing nobody to come to my party. Like, either you want to come or you don't want to come. So then they get on the topic of conversation of Sheree. They're talking about, like, you know, Marlo decides to tell everybody what happened with Sheree. And Candy's like, oh, I know. Kenya told, like, you know, Candy at first was acting stupid, and then Kenya was like, no, I told Candy. So then Sheree's in her confessional was like, if Candy knew what was going on, like, between, like, me and Tyrone, why would you reach out? You already was like, you let the whole Ralph and Drew thing fester and not tell me, and now you knew I was hurting and you didn't reach out. I was happy Mama Joyce told her, like, girl, after a month, I would have dropped it. Like, he would have been no good. Like, you should block him. We find out that Sheree ends up blocking him. But I do get where Sheree's coming from when it comes to Kandi. Like, if we're supposed to be cool, like, we've known each other for so long, why are you not telling me these things? I do think it's kind of, like, annoying for Sheree to be mad. But I can understand her questioning where it's like, girl, you knew I was hurting and you didn't reach out after Kenya told you about it. And like, I know you know the tea because Marlo is telling me that people are sending her photos of me crying in Philly. So why didn't you reach out? What's good? Like, what's going on with our relationship? And like Sheree said, the fact that Drew kind of showed up for me, why didn't y'all show up for me? Then Sheree gets mad at Kenya. She's like, you know, like Kenya, at least Kenya show up for some people. She don't show up for all. And for me, I was looking at Sheree like, that's stupid. Because Kenya's been on the phone with you crying and like trying to console you while nobody else has. And then Kenya's like, I was sick. Like, I got a call from my doctor. I was in a full glam and they were like, well, but you was in full glam though. And Kenya was like, I was on my way to go to like to the party and then to Marlo's event for you. But then I got a call from the doctor that says I shouldn't be around anybody and I should go get a test. So I was being safe, trying to be safe for you. So what are you talking about? And I was with Kenya, like she was sick. Why would you want a sick person at your party? And even if she wasn't sick, if she didn't want to go, why would you want somebody at your party that did not want to go or didn't want to be there to support you? So y'all look stupid. Her and Marlo look stupid. So then Marlo gets upset and starts questioning like what's her name, Sanya. She was like, so how come we didn't get an invite? You know, how come you just asked Kenya and Kandi to be a part of your mommy nation and not me and Sheree when we're moms? And Sanya's whole thing was like, oh, I connected more towards them while we were in New York. And Marlo was like, I've known Kandi for 15 years. Me and her just now got close. What are you talking about? Kandi keeps everyone as an arm's length, which she is kind of true about. It takes Kandi a minute, but it might be also like some people just click. Like some people just, you know, connect that way, you know? So you can't force things. So while everyone is arguing, Mama Joyce gets tired of it, and she's like over it. She was like, why are y'all yelling about this? And she flinging around she's just like, why are y'all with the knife? Why are y'all yelling about this? This is stupid. And I was with Mama Joyce. This is stupid. Mama Joyce was like, she said she was sick. She was sick. Let it go. So then Marlo and Marlo and Sheree go outside, and this is the infamous conversation that everyone's like really mad about. But Marlo basically feels like Kenya was lying. She also feels like Kandi don't really be extending her hand to people if it doesn't benefit her, which can slightly be true, but Kandi still be doing things for the community. And then she brought up the whole like Kandi was a hoe. Kandi was a hoe and her box wasn't good, and that's why she got the Mary down, i.e. Todd. I was like, ooh girl, Marlo, pedal off the gas, sis. And then she was like, Kenya was a video hoe too. She effed all these rappers and she couldn't lock one down. Just like, okay, we get it, you Miss America, but what else? And I'm like, no, Miss USA, but what else? And I'm kind of like, well, Marlo, being Miss USA is still a big deal, as well as Kandi is still a part of the legendary group called Escape. What have you done, Miss Marlo Hampton? Except just be a reality star. And Sheree's just sitting there agreeing, like, you're right, facts. As while this conversation is happening, we then see Sanya and Kenya on the inside, and Kenya's like, nasty Marlo, I was waiting for her to show up. And she was like, and now she's showing up. What I will say for me is, with the whole thing with Marlo and Kandi, I think Marlo coming at Kenya is stupid. But with Marlo and Kandi, I feel like Marlo and Kandi been throwing slight digs at each other since episode 1. Kandi always asking about where Marlo get her money from after Marlo explicitly told her to let it go. They always talking about Marlo's cat being a lady, like Marlo being a lady of the night, when it's kind of like y'all are using that to shame her. Then you got Kandi. Everyone's always calling Kandi sugar mama and talking about her being a hoe. So it's like y'all are both shaming, are both slut shaming. So it's like tit for tat. Y'all both be coming at each other. Y'all both. So it's like, I don't really think the beef is one-sided when it comes to Marlo and Kandi. I think it's both each other. I do think Marlo went off on the deep end. Like, she plunged off on the deep end with this conversation. But I think Marlo's feelings were hurt that she wasn't invited. And it pissed her off that she was just like, okay, in her mind, she's like, so we're not good enough for you. When she was directing her conversation to Sanya, she's like, so you didn't invite us because we're not good enough for you. And I think that's a trigger for Marlo. I honestly think Marlo is always in a state of like, I'm gonna get you before you get me, and I think that's why she's now coming at Kenya more so, because I really feel like she feels like, okay, I'm gonna get Kenya before Kenya gets me, and she jumped the gun because Kenya relatively hasn't done anything other than making the whole Law Archives comment and trying to play her at that event. But other than that, nothing was really happening. But I think Marlo is so used to Kenya getting her before she can get Kenya that she's jumping the gun. You got her bringing the band to her hair care business. You got like all the reads Kenya has had. Marlo's old square reader between her and JJ. Like, Kenya has constantly read Marlo for filth, and I think Marlo is just tired of it, and she just wanted to get the lady back. But she's jumping the gun because Kenya relatively hasn't done anything. So, yeah, it's just stupid. As well as Sheree. Sheree being mad at Kenya is dumb because the lady was sick, and up until now, she has been there for you. She's been on the phone with you. So, it's just been stupid when it comes to Sheree. Sheree being mad at Kenya. I get her being mad at Candy because it does feel like Candy isn't being a genuine friend to her. But the Kenya thing, no, girl. So the night is winding down. Everybody's going back inside to like finish cooking and stuff like that. Because I didn't say what it was. The whole cooking thing, they were actually at a cooking house where you can go and like learn how to cook and then eat what you like prepare for yourself at the establishment. So that's what they were doing there. So they're finished cooking, and then lo and behold, Drew pops up, and that's where the episode ends. So yeah, y'all, that was it. That was all. I thought the episode for the most part was good. I will say, I feel like Roa is kind of dragging. I don't know. I think it's dragging a little bit. I still like it, but I can see why some people aren't like vibing with it like they did in the old days. I do think there's like something missing a little bit. Just a little. I don't know. I feel like we're missing someone who's constantly being funny. Maybe that's what it is. Or somebody with the quips. I think that's what we're missing. Somebody coming with the funny quips, and like kind of how like Dr. Heavenly is. I don't particularly care too much for Dr. Heavenly, but Dr. Heavenly is funny. She slaps. Like when she makes you laugh, and I think that's what we're missing here. It's kind of like they just all jabbing at each other, like everybody's just coming at each other. Like I said, Marlo is in her villain era, and I'm okay with her being a villain. Like, we need one. Well, I mean, we don't need one, but we need a main antagonist. So it looks like the group's going to be split where it's Marlo and Sheree versus Candy and Kenya. And I'm okay with that. I really am okay with that. But yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic and drop down in the comments below. Deuces.